They're pros because of how much space they give actors. And I mean, I tell actors this all the time, like, be creative, whatever that means to you. Try to flip the script, try to rewire your brain to lean in on love. I'll say it in one line, right? The journey is the destination. The journey
Yeah.
is the destination.
Hello, Matt. Welcome to the One Big Break podcast. We're so happy, so glad to have you here. For those who don't know, can you quickly introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Victor, for having me on your show today. I've been a lifelong actor since I can remember. Just loved telling great stories and, just try to bring people together. I think we're always at our best in a society when we're feeling things. And so I got the bug pretty early on in Virginia. Just was one of those kids that only needed my own mind and my own thoughts to really reflect and to build characters and just to kind of use my imagination to, just entertain myself. And so I grew up in the theater in rural Virginia. That's kind of what was available to me at the time. My first paying gigs were at a teenage level. And, it just kind of got me the bug to move on a little bit more when I went to New York City and got my acting degree from Marymount Manhattan College and studied with some great teachers there. And now in LA and in a great film. So the journey continues.
All right, so Matt, you talked about moving to NYC to get your degree, and I also know you moved to LA, which really sounds like a big leap for someone who's coming from Virginia. So, like, what was the biggest challenge you faced while like pursuing acting in these big cities?
Absolutely. I mean, I think acting looks way more glamorous than it actually is in many ways. It's a job to job vocation. And so you are pounding the pavement constantly. The second that you have a job and then you finish that job, you're needing to move on to the next job. So it's definitely one of those things where for me, I just loved auditioning right off the bat. I would go to Actors Equity, which is the Broadway union for your listeners, and just literally hit my 16 bars and audition for as many shows that I can to keep that mechanism going. But I do think that that is a hard thing, is understanding that you are looking for the next job constantly as an actor. And when you are looking for the next job as an actor, I think you definitely have this mentality where you never get too high or too low because you are always trying to seek the next gig. And I think a lot of that too, Victor, is just being around your own people, just being creative all the time. I mean, I tell actors this all the time, like, be creative, whatever that means to you, whether it's picking up a play and reading it, watching a movie that you love, just continuing to just keep that machine oiled at all times, because you never really know and you don't have control of when things will come your way. And so I think that it's a really great practice to have as an artist, to just always be ready to go when the opportunity comes your way. And, again, luck is when opportunity meets success. And so sometimes you have to just give yourself the opportunities by, like I say, giving yourself at bats, auditioning whenever, wherever you can, and letting the people around you, help you out. Your reps are a big part of it. I'm very grateful this year, coming into the year, that I have some really wonderful representation. I work with Tanya Kleckner over at HRI. I've got my manager, Richard John Martin, over at Ignite Talent Management. I also have a PR team headed by Mia Hansen over at Portrait PR. These are people that help me stay in my lane. That way I can really focus on what's important, which is my work as an actor, because they want me to be focused on that. I'm better for them and their practice when I'm fully committed to the work. So, in answer to your question, yeah, it's harder than it looks, because again, we are seeking the next job. I am technically unemployed right now. I have a film coming out, that's out in theaters right now, somewhere in Montana, that I'm a lead of. I'm so grateful for it, but I'm already looking towards the next project and just auditioning and just getting myself out there as best that I can.
Yeah, you talked a lot about practice, and I know you mentioned that you studied acting in college. So I wanted to ask, was your college experience in NYC I know a lot of people think you need a degree to get a job, and some people don't actually get degrees before they go into acting. But I know like studying it formally does help to some point, but I'm not sure exactly how. So, how exactly does studying acting help you in your job today?
Absolutely. Great question, Victor. It's about process. It's about learning what your unique process is as an actor. And it's no different than, your day to day in your normal life, what your job is and how you go about it. And so I think that that's very in line with the actor is figuring out uniquely what makes you click, what makes you ready when you come to set or whether when you're on stage that you've done your work, that you are prepared to serve the production however that you can. And, sometimes there's more work that goes into some roles than others, but I always take every role as the same amount of work. I want to make sure that I am coming prepared. I want to make sure that I'm a collaborator, that I'm able to, be confident enough with my work that, I can have wonderful conversations with my actors on set, my crew members on set, my director, my producers, my DPs. I want to make sure that I am confident enough in the work that I've done to make sure that I'm ready to collaborate when I come to set, and that's really when the magic happens. So I think that for me, I'll talk a little bit about my process. My process as an actor is very backstory driven. You could say I'm a method actor in many ways. And there are a lot of really great parts of method acting. I lost 25 pounds for the role of Fabian Verdugo in Somewhere in Montana because I felt like that
Wow,
was his
that's a lot.
body. Yeah, I needed to feel, and again, I hired some really wonderful nutritionists and trainers. Nathan DeTracy and his wife Jennifer DeTracy over at Evolve Fitness really helped me. It really became a thing of kitchen and cardio. I like to lift weights. I like my protein shakes, but I let all that go because I felt like this character specifically was someone that missed meals. He was someone that was very driven. He was someone that, maybe didn't sleep at night. So I felt like for him, like for me as the actor, I felt like it was the right choice for me to feel like I was in my body. Or in the character's body of Fabian Verdugo in this film. And so I think you have to find your unique ways of doing that. Another thing that I love is just constantly thinking about backstories and writing them out, sometimes in a journal, or just thinking about them. Like what makes the character click? Because a lot of character development is behavioral, it's what's in between the lines. And once you give yourself all of this foundation, is what I call it, to explore when you're on set, you basically are more free to really see what the moments are going to be, and you don't know what they're going to be. But when you're around great actors like I was with Michelle Hurd and Graham McTavish and Kaylee Macchio and Tasha Gates and Jonathan Stoddard, Kate Orsini in this film, Andrew Roa, you just really don't know what's going to happen because you've done all the work. And so then it all becomes about just feeling that moment and, working off of what the other actor is giving you. And I keep saying it, but it's true. It's like that is where the magic happens because, again, all that preparation that you've done, you just throw it away and you just live in the moment and see what happens.
Yeah, I can imagine like working with like other really good actors can be intimidating for an actor, but I guess if you know what you're doing, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But congrats on your role in Somewhere in Montana.
Thank you.
Um, I wanted to ask you, what exactly drew you to this role specifically? Why did you audition? Do you see some of yourself in the character? Because I heard that a lot of actors are drawn to roles where they see some parts of themselves, and they want to like relieve those parts in the big screen.
Very astute, Victor. Yes, I do think that there are roles that you find more of yourself in, and then there are roles that you feel like you might need to find other ways to connect to. And actors can uniquely do that by research and study. For this role, Fabian Verdugo, he is the first role that I've ever really fallen in love with. I do see a lot of myself in Fabian, and there are parts of him that I still keep close to my heart, even as we speak right now. This role for me was impactful because it is a true story of the times. And it's always something that has been burning inside me as an artist to tell stories that I felt like could make an impact on the world, stories that mattered, stories that, maybe dictated a little bit of the times that we're in. And this role does that. He's a West Coast director. He's driven. His legacy is film. He is someone that's very passionate. And sometimes that gets frowned upon in life, right? Sometimes you're so passionate about something that people consider you a diva or self centered. Fabian is none of that. Fabian is not self centered. He is passionate. He is somebody that will go down with his ship. He is somebody that is a fighter. And I say this all the time, but dreamers are fighters. Don't sleep on dreamers. We are fighters. And so that has been a lot of myself as an actor in my life, is that I have had to fight through some battles. I have had to put myself out there and get through some hard times to get to where I am today talking to you, right? And so I think for this character specifically, and for the role at large, with how it integrates with this wonderful story that Brandon Smith wrote about two different opposing forces that are thrust upon each other, that are so uniquely different, is it's a conversation piece. It's a conversation piece about where we are right now in our society, where two different people from two different worlds don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know how to see each other. And I feel like in many ways it's a conversation starter, in that you understand that you don't have to necessarily agree with everything about a person to be able to see them and to be able to connect with them. So for me, working with Graham specifically, and that relationship that we developed off screen was honestly just such a gem in my life. Separate even from the film, the relationships that you have with some of these actors, because you were talking about it earlier about being intimidated acting next to actors that are pros that have been doing it for a long time. I got to be honest. I think a lot of the pros that exist in our industry that have been acting for a long time, they're pros because of how much space they give actors, and how much they are true collaborators, and how much they really do. They see you as equals. And I can't say enough about people like Graham and Michelle specifically, because they gave me otherworldly amounts of space, and the ability to really be a collaborator and somebody that was telling a story together. And so a lot of the off-screen relationships that I developed with Graham, and going to breakfasts or dinners with him, going on hikes with the whole cast and crew, and having these wonderful conversations with Michelle and Graham, just kind of dictated this experience for me. And it really became one of those things where I was just so grateful to be in a film like this, because again, I say this all the time, I feel like I've already won with this film because of the relationships that I have. Graham just last week was checking in on me because we had a fire a few miles north of
Oh
us in Santa
yeah.
Clarita. And these are people that are friends. I was at a screening with Michelle and her husband Garrett Dillahunt, and we were talking till like 2 a.m. in the morning in Palm Springs after a screening, and just these wonderful conversations, these wonderful connections. Like, these are actors that I admire, but they're people that I admire even more so, because they're my
As
friends
well.
now, and I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to call them that. And so when you have that on set, and when you are telling a story that is collectively bigger than all of the parts that exist in it, it's just powerful, Victor, because again, this is a story that I feel like is a real conversation piece that could really get people to see that there is a path for us to move forward. And I can go a little bit more into the plot of the film, but just speaking to your question, collaborators and actors that have been around for a long time, you see it when you're on set with them because of just the wonderful grace that they give you every moment of every day and how much energy they give you because of their just true need and love of collaboration.
Wow, that sounds really good. I wanted to talk more about stories because um, you seem really passionate about this specific film, but I wanted to know what about your other projects? What other projects have really influenced you, your perspective as an actor? Because it seems like this film really has a lot of impact on you personally, and that sounds really good. But I also want to know you are to person today because of combination of several things, right? So, what other roles in your past have you, even if it's theater, it doesn't matter, like has also impacted you?
Yeah, I think about all the shows that I did growing up in the theater and community theater and and off Broadway theater and the black box theaters, in the
Wait, quick
village.
question: do you prefer acting in the theater or in movies?
I love both. I love both for different reasons, uniquely. I love theater because it's live, it's alive. You have, just wonderful, players on set that you can kind of build off of and kind of change the dynamic of a scene as you do it because you're doing it over and over again, so you can find and explore different things. Film is difficult because once you give that scene away, that's what lives on, right? So it's uniquely different. In many ways, I feel like being in film now, like I was actually just talking to Michelle's husband, Garrett Delahunt, who just came off of an off-Broadway, show. And I had to ask him about it because I miss the theater. It's where I was born, was in the theater. It's what made me an actor. And it taught me so much. And so just exploring that with him and just like, again, reminiscing about something that I love was just really gratifying to me because it's something that I want to get back to. I do think that it's, something that impacted me. To your question, I'm going to reflect right now all the way back to middle school. I played Tom Sawyer in my school production, middle school. Nothing big, but it was a middle school production of Tom Sawyer. And I remember my friend Nate, and he played Huck Finn. And this is just a great story of kind of how I just caught the love of the game pretty early on. Middle school, we're doing the graveyard scene from Tom Sawyer, and the janitor forgot to unlock the downstairs door, which was the entry point for the actor needing to come up to join us in the scene and basically break up
Oh,
the scene. So Victor, we're on stage, and he's not showing up, and me and Nate had to essentially riff for about 5 minutes on set in this graveyard scene. And I got to be honest, it was so much fun. It was so freeing. We didn't miss a beat because we were so in character. We had so much fun doing it.
is
And
that your like a first like improv
well,
experience?
I actually was in an improv troupe, growing up with, the manager of Washington, D.C. Improv. So I was in an improv troupe for 2 years, but it is sort of what you said. It's improv training, but it's also being so deep in the character that you're so free that, again, you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what's so beautiful about film, about TV, about theater is that a lot of times what makes the cut of a TV show or what makes the cut of a film is something that is just in the moment and you didn't even know it was going to happen. I mean, there are lines in the film that, were unscripted, but it was part of my character, so I felt like I needed to say it. Same with other actors. I'll point out Andrew Roa. There's this beautiful scene that he does, and he had us all in tears. He's his background is Native American, and he started to sing a Native American chant, and we were all just so taken with his performance. But that wasn't written into the script. That was him bringing his artistic self to that moment so that we could all benefit from it. And I think that's what's really important about like all of these shows that I had growing up in theater. And this is why I tell actors like get into the theater. While you're young and you don't have to, get a 9 to 5 job to support the dream, while you're being supported, be around as many theater actor collaborators as you can be because you're really more free to dedicate your full attention to it because you don't have to have a job, right, to support the dream. And so, those shows growing up for me, I mean, there are many. I played Billy Bigelow in Carousel. I played Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls in high school. I was telling you about Riverside Dinner Theater. I had my first paid gigs
Yeah.
there. I played Mowgli and Jungle Book and Hansel and Gretel. And those were Saturday shows, those were kids' shows. And it was just so wonderful because, again, performing for kids, I did a national theater tour. That was my first big paying gig through Equity. I played Herb and Junie B. Jones and toured around the country. When I got to experience what it was to, perform for kids and kids shows, it really taught me because kids are honest. They'll be honest with you. If it's not landing, you're
Yeah.
not going to get a reaction. And so being on tour and experiencing like how to work off of an audience and to really it actually kind of becomes a collaboration now that I think about it, like playing off of an audience really taught me just so much about being a creative and being in the moment and just enjoying that and really enjoying it because again I think there's so much lost in the in many artistic fields, but you can't just look at the results of it. You have to really enjoy the process of it, and you have to enjoy those moments that you can control because you can't control everything. And so I think that growing up in the theater and going to New York and being around my people and understanding my love of these people that I've accumulated during the journey. These are people that have continued to inspire me, to help me grow, and it's what keeps the journey alive and thriving in this moment that I'm in right now, talking to you.
Yeah, sounds really good. You seem really passionate about the acting in general. And you talk about like how if you're really free in your character, you have this little moments of improv. You said it happened in theater, it happens in film sometimes. How usually is the like director's side of things? Like how much input do you have in your character as an actor? Or how much is the director gonna let you put in? Because the director ultimately is the person who calls the shots, right? So, I still feel like some actors influence their characters a lot more than even the directors or the writers because there's some characters that or there's some actors that you cannot imagine anyone else playing because they just own the character so much that you feel like it's almost like it's really just them. Really, it's really just them. Like it's really just them. So an example of this would be like when I think of like Johnny Depp from like the Pirates of the Caribbean. I can't imagine anyone else playing that, and I know he had so much influence in that specific character. So what about you? Like how much influence do you have in your own characters and like how is that process like with the director like like throwing ideas of like little things you want to say or little things that you want to change to the script? Just let me know what that process is like. I want to know more.
Absolutely. A very insightful thought, and one that I will answer, as truthfully as I can, which is that it really just depends. And that's the honest truth. I mean, directors are people. Each production is different. It could be a TV show that's been running for 15 years, and your job that day is to be the guest star and to, essentially create an arc within that one episode and also to further the story of the contract players in that show that have been there for years because you're part of their story within that episode. And, there might be, we'll just say, for example, and it depends, but let's say that there's just less of a collaborative factor in a TV show because there's just less time, right? And you've got to come in and you've got to nail your scenes, and you're meeting the actors, maybe for 15, 20 minutes before you're in that scene with them. And maybe you have, two or three scenes to shoot. Maybe it's over a week, but, the timing of it is a little bit tighter. So there's not as much time to essentially build that relationship with not only the actors, but to your point, the director and writers, right? Sometimes in TV, you don't even meet the writers unless they're staffed right there and they come to set, right? They might be in a writer's room, they might be working from home and then just delivering the script to the production. And then there's something like Somewhere in Montana. And this one is rare. This one is beautiful and rare. And I honestly, Victor, reveled in it because it's so rare. And I know that. Brandon Smith is the ultimate collaborator. And he very quickly in the process gave all of the actors on set the ability to uniquely bring themselves to these characters. And so we would be, and I remember the beginning times too, we would be on Zoom calls just like this, and we would be running scene by scene by scene by scene. And what was so unique about it is that he's the writer of Summer in Montana too. So being that unique director and writer is fascinating, especially because writers tend to write what they know. And Brandon was telling a big story, but he was telling it about a lot of what he knows in that, Fabian is a director. Well, he's a director. And John is a Montana rancher. Well, he lives in Montana, in Polson, Montana. And so a lot of the dynamic of the characters in this film were based on what he knew. And so I was gleaning a lot of that information from him. I was, studying what he wanted because again the director and the writer are somebody that you serve as an actor and you take pride in that. You want to make sure that you're delivering everything that you can possible to do a good job by them and by their script because it's a story that you care about too, and you want it to do well, you want it to thrive, you want it to resonate with people. So when I think about the relationship that I have with Brandon, it really just became this true friendship, this true brotherhood, and one that is rare. And the space that he gave us, I say the ecosystem that he gave us to have the time where, we could go to dinners together and we could, have these conversations together. And have a lot of time off screen really, I feel like was a big part of the finished product that came to the screen. So every relationship's different, every production is different, but as the actor, you do the best that you can within the timing of that. You will obviously soak up all the conversations that you possibly can have with people like Graham and Michelle, because they've been doing it so successfully for so long that why wouldn't you, right? You want those relationships. You want people in your life that know better than you in many ways and have been just successful and just true collaborators for so long. So, I do say that all the time is that, just the love of collaboration, the love of being the piece to the puzzle that you can be is the ultimate joy as an actor and as a collaborator.
You've mentioned Graham and Michelle a lot. Honestly, I wish I could let them join the call as well. So seems like
They're
you guys have a
wonderful.
really good it seems like you guys have a really good dynamic going on.
Yeah, they're very special in my life. They are, they're friends. I mean, listen, I understand the massive amounts of talent and skill that they have, but to be able to consider them my friends, I mean, Graham calls me mate. It's a sign in Scotland of camaraderie. He's the first person that's ever called me that. When he called me that, it meant so much to me, Victor, because again, that was just a sign of the fact that we had done something important together, that we had told a story that was important together. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, no matter where you're at in your career. Because a lot of it is not necessarily within your control, but when you come out of it and you have these wonderful relationships and you tell these great stories with these phenomenal actors that you just admire and you admired them before you met them, as actors and as artists. But when you meet them, you start to instantly admire them as collaborators and people, and that's when it really gets special.
Yeah, it sounds really good. You hear a lot of people talking about, oh, don't meet your heroes, but like it seems like you met your hero and you're really happy about it. So I'm happy for you. I want to ask you about your perspective about the film industry a little bit more. I know you're just getting into film. I know this is one of your first major big league roles. But I want to ask you about the film industries and how you see it evolving. You know, there's streaming platforms. There's some people talking about using AI in films. I know a lot of things really change post pandemic, but how do you see all these different things that come and go in the film industry affect you as an actor or affect your ability to storytell in general?
Yeah, it's the trickiest time, I think, in the history of this industry, right? Because we are up against a lot of technology. We're up against, a lot of moving parts with streaming platforms. And these are conversations that I've had with Michelle, who is on the SAG-AFTRA board. And one of the many things that I just love about Michelle is that she is a lover and a fighter for actors, and it's because they're her people, right? And so she dedicates so much extra energy to that fight, and then making sure that actors are safe on set, and that we're protected from technology and what's coming. And then there are a lot of other things that are out of control, like the fires, right, that we have had in LA the past few weeks. I mean, that has definitely been something, because again, real life happens regardless of any industry that we're in. And so these are real devastating times in our city that will affect industries and affect the people that are within them, because at the end of the day, we're just people. We are we are in a job just like any other job. It just happens to be in the realm of entertainment. And so, to answer your question, I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. I do know that, productions will go where they need to create. You have to remember that being an actor, being a collaborator, being a director, a producer, now that I'm getting into production, I mean, you're going to take a production where it needs to go to live, to survive, to be, right? And so a lot of times have to make these tough decisions of, can I get that tax credit? Can I, get those actors to come out that I really want for this production? Can I get the built-ins for the production? Built-ins for your listeners are people that will donate, maybe a couple meals to your set, or a lumber yard maybe that will build something for you, relationships that you have. And that's something that now I'm getting into within my production company, Dragon Hunter Productions, is understanding that I love acting, but I also really just love collaborating. I love building a team. It's a team sport. Everybody's a master of their own domain. And once you get those people together, there is just so much joy in that. Like, it really is. It's such an extraordinary experience to have those quick conversations with your cinematographer or your director or another actor, and just understand that, like, you are all creating something together that is all uniquely yours. It's an ensemble process, creating film, and same with theater too. And so when I look at what the industry is right now, I know that the challenges are there. I know that AI is something that lives now and in our society, just, not even just in the acting industry or the entertainment industry, but within our society. We're all going to have to figure out ways to live with it and deal with it in different ways, and not let it control us. Because again, I say this all the time, but if you give up art to a machine, you don't even understand the repercussions that can come from that, because you're giving up humanity. Art is a human practice. It tells and reflects the stories of our times, and so computers can't do that. They can't do that like people can. And you need to see real emotions. You need to see real tears. You need to see you need to see people being actors. And again, it's a very tricky thing when, again, when I say like this, I love acting. I've always wanted to be the one that told my own stories. If you told me right now, Victor, you can get into that booth and you can get scanned and get your voice taken away from you, and we can computer generate a performance for you, I would say no, because that's not me. That's not my unique portrayal of what I might do. And also, again, I love being an actor. I love, a 10-page scene with a great actor like Graham, and not knowing what's going to happen. And if you take that process away from me, if you take that away from actors, you're going to lose not only the actor's ability to create, but you're also going to really, and it's a risk, create a real denigration of our society, because people aren't going to see humans telling human stories anymore. And I say this all the time, but human stories matter. Well, who can tell human stories? Humans. That's it, right? You can't give that up
Yeah.
to a computer. So there's a lot at stake right now. There's a lot of moving parts. We didn't even talk about the streaming, but the streaming is another thing. Actors need to be compensated. And I think a lot of people have the misconception that actors make a lot more than they actually do. When you're in a TV show or you're in a film, and I'm saying most actors, I understand that there's the tip of the top, the totem pole, but for most working actors, we need those streaming checks. We need those real data points to be, accessible, because again, you have to be able to say, well, my performance is landing on this many people, and this is something that I have worked towards to even get to this point, and I need to be able to be compensated for the portion that I was responsible for within that production. That's how you get paid as an actor. You don't make your money on your day rate. You make your money because that was the stamp that you put on that production, and now it's being watched 1 million, 2 million, 5 million times. Well, you need to get a portion of that. That's how you feed your family. That's how you pay your bills, right? And a lot of times I'll say this too: acting is not cheap. Sometimes you have to bet on yourself. Sometimes you have to hire a PR team. You have to get new headshots. You have to, level up with now doing a lot of the communications and the auditions on tape, right? You have to get the lights that I'm looking at right now, the microphone. You have to invest in what makes you shine. So, it's you have to build your business in the ways that you can, but the only way that you can do that is to be fairly compensated for the work that you've done. And so, I hope that answers your question. There's a lot of moving parts right now, but I know first and foremost that I am grateful to be around a lot of actors that not only fight for each other, but fight with each other. And that's a really impactful thing that I just love about my fellow collaborators.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions based on what you said. First is like, why do you think people think that all actors are like rich? Because I remember even when and this sounds a little controversial, but when the LA fires happened and some actors' houses burned down and they came online, they expressed themselves about how devastated they were. I think the general public were just very like opposed to sympathizing with those actors. And it's like at the end of the day, they're just human beings too. They're just trying to feed their family, just trying to like live life, bro. Just because it seems that they may be making a lot, and they're not gonna come out and say how much they're making, right? You're not gonna come out and say how much you're making, but I think society needs to show more sympathy towards people who are in this position of like, or in entertainment in general. I think it's just an entertainment thing. Do you agree?
Yes, it's definitely been shown in a very ugly way in the last few weeks by some people online. Um, Nobody deserves to lose their house, Victor. Nobody. It doesn't matter if you've got $100,000 in the bank. It doesn't matter if you have $100 in the bank. It doesn't matter if you've been successful for a long time and you have a $10 million house in the Palisades. It doesn't matter because your house is your legacy. Your home is your memories. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Oh, well, you can build back the house. It's not just about the house. It's about the legacies. It's about what's in the house. I mean, I think of some of the, famous actors whose houses burned down. A lot of those, Victor, probably were museums, of just a lot of really wonderful materials that now are gone. And that's really sad. And again, I think a lot of actors like have brought a lot of joy to people. A lot of actors have donated their time, and their voices to putting themselves out there for causes that are bigger than themselves. Those are people that I'm glad that they're successful because they're good people. And I think, regardless of anything, it's a very ugly, bad look for anybody that would say, "Oh, well, they're rich, they deserved it." I mean, what? Like that's ugly. That's on the person saying it, And then there's the other part of it too, where it's like, yeah, regardless of how much the home is worth, that's your home. It's not just a big house. It's your home. And frankly, a lot of those people had been living there for decades and decades and decades. These are the places that they came back to. These are the memories that they shared with so many people. And now those structures are gone. And there's such a need to rebuild as quickly as possible, but it takes time. There's so much hurt. I mean, for everybody that reads the headlines, and again, we need to stop reading the headlines. We need to start looking at people. We need to stop reading the headlines. I'm going to say it one more time and start looking at people, because when you see what the reaction was from some of the people that lost their house, if you're looking at that mother and daughter crying like while their house is completely demolished, that like lost everything, that lost all of their memories, and you can tell me, "Oh, well, they're rich, they deserved it." That's ugly. That's sad and it's
That's
ugly.
sad.
And we need to get back to human compassion. This is why I got into acting again, was to tell human stories that matter. I think that sometimes you can't read something online, you can't see it from, the news. You have to see it. You have to see the human emotion. You have to see how things affect you, because actors allow themselves to get affected, and by doing so we allow people to be affected by that. And so yeah, I really do. I felt like early on in my life that telling stories was how I could make the biggest impact in my life, in the world. I felt like it was something that as a vocation just burned inside of me. And it was that need to communicate and to tell stories that were bigger than myself. And I think that this is a big moment in our world, especially in our country, with everything that we've been through, where I think it resonates more now than ever.
Yeah, I think you're right. I completely agree, and I think there's a lot of anger in the world because obviously the world is not perfect. So I think there are always going to be people who are looking for any excuse or any way they can take out their anger or project certain things. And I think this is just one of those situations, you know.
We need to find better ways of doing that. We need to find better ways of doing that collectively, as human beings, or we're going to destroy ourselves. Um, we need to figure out, like, listen, if you have that type of anger and you have that type of reaction, go work out. Go on a hike. I'm serious. Like, go listen to you know some freaking rap music. Like go to the gym and punch a bag.
Go
Go
outside,
outside. Like, don't get on.
touch
Yeah,
grass.
don't exactly touch grass. Don't go on social media and try to ruin somebody's day. Don't go on, on a rant and try to hurt somebody and try to bring them down because of the negative thoughts and feelings that you're feeling. Do something that can raise somebody up. Try to flip the script. Try to rewire your brain to lean in on love, because I do. I have always been the idealist. I believe that love is way more powerful of an emotion than hate. But unfortunately, hate has all of these other emotions that surround it. It's like a cloud. It's like it's like you've got hate, you've got envy, you've got just all of these different emotions that are part of hate, and that's what sometimes makes it seem like hate is stronger than love, even though I know it's not, is because of all of the different emotions that it pulls into its tornado. And so I do feel like that's why I love doing what I do. That's why I'm proud of doing what I do as an actor, as a collaborator, because I feel like these stories can resonate with people and get them to tap in more to their positive feelings. And I do. I feel like when we're tapped into our positive feelings, we are all collectively in a better place together.
Yeah, I agree, and I also think like a lot of that, like hate and emotions, like negative emotions, really just comes from boredom. Like you said, like if you're productive, if you have something you're doing every day and you're completely focused on that and you're passionate about that, like I don't think you would have any room or any space for any other like negative emotion. Like you're focused on you, you're focused on yourself, you're focused on what you're doing, and I think if most people get to that point, society would be a lot better. So I want to ask you about some like hypothetical questions. So if there was one role you would love to play that's completely out of your comfort zone, what would that role be?
Sure. I have always been a little bit of a gym rat. I have grown up in a dojo. My father is my sensei, so I'm a fourth degree black belt in Okinawan Shorin-ryu. Um, I have always wanted to play, I'll say a physical role. And I'll just put that out there in many ways. I mean, I grew up reading comic books. There is one superhero that I always jived with that actually hasn't really gotten his own movie yet. It's Nightwing. It's the original Robin. Nightwing is somebody that I have always resonated with because he's willing to be bad for the greater good. He's a little bit cocky when he needs to be, but he is somebody that I think uniquely is that fighter that is willing to put himself out there to a detrimental point sometimes to be able to save, humanity or save his city or be able to fight for the good guy, the guy that can't fight for himself. So Nightwing is a recreation of a character because he was originally Robin. So I would love to play Nightwing in the way that he was Robin, and he and he was partnered with Bruce Wayne and Batman, and then he had to recreate himself. And I would love to tell that story because I constantly find in my life that I am trying to recreate myself. And I feel like it's a character that I would really jive with because I think Nightwing as a character and as a hero is the ultimate recreation of a superhero. So that would be one that would definitely resonate with me for sure.
We like the Grayson over here. But
Yeah,
I know like there's the Batman movie coming out though.
of
Did
course.
you audition for that? You did?
I did not get the audition for that. I did not, and it's not a standalone, but I understand. I mean, like, listen, these characters are so coveted, and you told me my dream role, so I understand the
No, no, I'm
yeah,
not. I'm not beating you up for
the
it.
massive
You
amount of
know,
people. Everyone wants that role, and it is. It is competitive, and it's about where you are in your career to even get that audition. You have to remember that the audition's the win. If I had gotten the
yeah.
audition for that, I would have been like, listen, whether I get it or not, that's
You're
amazing.
happy.
I
You're
listen.
happy to be there.
I did audition for Flash. That was awesome. I loved getting the audition for that one. And again, it's where you're at in your career a lot of times, and I think that that's okay, but you have to. You have to give yourself over to the part. You have to, and this is the joy of acting, right? You have to bring yourself to that role in the way that only you uniquely can. And then, Victor, it's the hardest part. You have to let it go and move on to the next. Because, I believe this 100% of the roles that are meant for you will find you. And, if I'm putting that out there right now on your show, I would love that standalone Nightwing movie someday because I do think that it's something that would resonate with me, but really a physical role. Being a martial artist, training in Okinawan Shorin-ryu with my dad my whole entire life. If it was a martial art role, if it was a physical role where I could get in the gym and train, again, I think so much of the joy of what I would consider to be this role for me is all of the great personal trainers and nutritionalists out there. I mean, that literally partner with you, tell you what to eat, when to eat it, how to work out. Because again, there's different workouts that go into the body type that you want for a character. If you're playing Thor, you're doing more back exercises because he's Roman. So he's got like that big arching back. If you want that lean muscle mass, you're doing. So there's a lot of chemistry that goes into it. And I remember when I talked to Jennifer DeTracy, my nutritionalist and my fitness coach, for Fabian, it was kitchen and cardio. She literally said, like, you have to eat 5 small meals a day. She told me what they were, when they were, and when to pair those workouts and what supplements to take within that. And to do it all in a healthy way. Because again, if I was going to lose 25 pounds for this role, I wanted to do it healthy. You rely on your team. It's a team sport. So at the end of the day, when I lost that 25 pounds, well, it was because of her. It was because of the friends that I had, that created that atmosphere for me to really grow in. And so, I do. I think the ultimate team sport is because of the people that are behind the scenes that help you achieve your goals and hopefully your dreams in your career.
I do think actors are like have the most interesting careers. Like I feel like in another life I'll be an actor because you lost 25 pounds for a role, but that's just one aspect of your job. Like there's so many aspects to it that it's just like you get to do so much. You get to basically like live different lives. Like for example, you're still gonna do your like networking, promotions, auditions. You're losing weight. Your rehearsals. If you're doing musical, you have to sing. Like there's just so many different things, and it's like you really are living the life. Like not many people can live like this. So
It's what you just
I
said,
think it's a really
Victor.
good career.
Yeah,
I think it's really good. I see why you're passionate about
yeah.
this.
Well, it's what you just said, I'll say it in one line, right? The journey is the destination. The journey is the destination. If you can truly just embrace all of the things that make this career, and this lifestyle and this just vocation just joyous for you every day. And there's going to be days that it's going to be harder than others, but if you can really embrace that, then the journey is the destination.
Yeah, that sounds really good. That's really inspiring. I feel like you've already mentioned this, but I kind of missed it. Who's your dream actor to work with, or who's your dream person to work with?
Uh, there's too many to count, honestly. I mean, I grew up with I'm a Sicilian guy, so I go to my Pacino, my De Niro, my Stallone. Those guys for me have always empowered me because I see a lot of myself in that journey, and I know how much they fought for it. I see the body of work, I see the nuances to their process, and the depth of their character development. And so for me, it's always just resonated with me, for just growing up and wanting to follow in their footsteps the best that I can. So I would say that those probably would be on my Mount Rushmore, but I gotta be honest, there are just so many extraordinary actors out there that I wouldn't be able to count. I just honestly, like, there are people in your life that come into your life, and I never in a million years thought I would be able to be in a film with someone like Graham McTavish or Michelle Hurd, and to be their counterparts and to tell a great story with them. And now they have become part of my dream because of the relationships that I have with them and the people that I know that they are. And so, I can't really say like this specific actor would be a dream because I don't know them, right? I don't really know them as people. I know them as actors, but when you get to know an actor as a person, it is just so gratifying. It's so gratifying to consider Michelle like a big sister to me. It's so gratifying to have Graham call me mate. It's so gratifying to have people in your life that just are you love them more as people than you even do as actors, and you know what great actors they are, but you love them because of the people that they are in your life. And that's when it really just is that full circle moment of like belonging and feeling like you're on the right path, and that you have fought for something that hopefully keeps just bringing these fruits of your labor to your life.
Yeah, sounds really good. Right now, we want to play our quick game. It's called Who Tweeted That? All right, so how to play is we read the tweet out loud. I give you four options. If you guess one wrong, you have to mention who came up with that.
I like games. This will be fun.
All right, so I can't believe I used to do this for a living. Who do you think said this?
Whew. God, that really could be all of them. I'm gonna say probably not Mark Hamill because I think it's somebody that really started young in the business. But Macaulay, Daniel, and Elijah all started young. Yeah, so this is tough. I'm probably on a hunch just gonna say Macaulay Culkin.
All right, let's find out. It's not. It's
Wow,
Mark
it was
Hill.
Mark Hamill. Wow, I wonder what he was saying that in reference to. I
I
can't
remember
believe
it.
I used.
Yeah, I don't really know. No one really knows because he deleted the tweet after, but it
Yeah.
was him, and it caused a lot of questions. But I actually I see this something like Macaulay was saying because he's not really in the business as much anymore. You know,
Yeah,
he's
it
more
seems like
producing.
something. Yeah, it seems like something that Macaulay would say. But wow, it's interesting. The person that I didn't think it was is the person that it was.
Okay, but what was your response to Mark Hill since you got it wrong?
Well, I don't know what it's in reference to. I can't believe I used to do this for a living, but I would say that he's still doing it for a living, and he's still extraordinary, and keep doing it because we love your voice and we love what you stand for, and we love your work as an actor. So um, I would say I'm grateful that you are still doing it for a living.
I think we all are. I think we all
Yeah,
are, and I think we're gonna miss him if he ever stops anytime. So he's a legend in the game. All right,
for
next
sure.
tweet. I love Lamp. This is really no context, but it's like you just have to think really deep. Like who would say this really based on who they are
Oh
or who do you perceive
man,
them to be?
that is crazy. I don't know. Oh man. It really, what's tough is you really have picked like people that I think all of
Would
them
say,
could have said that, right?
yeah.
Um, hmm. Something's telling me it's either Will Ferrell or Steve Carell, so I'm gonna flip a coin and say Will Ferrell.
You were so close. It was Steve.
Ah, I knew it was one of them. Ah, I was so close. I was
You're
so
so
close.
close.
I really did. I was like literally 50-50. I was like either gonna pick one of the two. Like I do, yeah, no, definitely could see him saying that 100%. Um, I still watch The Office pretty much every day, and I just like his just comedic timing is so phenomenal. It's so otherworldly. I think some of the things that Steve
I
Carell
agree.
does like are unteachable, just
It's just
because
that,
of his
yeah.
brilliance. So,
It's
so
just you
yeah,
born with it or not.
I could see. I love Lamp. Yeah, no, I could see that, and I could
But
hear it in his voice
yeah, you
too.
can hear it in his own voice too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say.
yeah.
I was gonna tell you like just say it out loud, and you probably hear it. Steve
You're
Carell
right. If I said
say.
it, you're right. If I said it, I would be like, you know what? That's actually a little bit more Steve Carell than Will Ferrell. Now that I'm saying it, I love Lamp. Yeah, no, that's Steve Carell for sure.
All right, so I accidentally wore a red shirt to Target, and long story short, I'm covering for Debbie this weekend. Who do you think said this?
Ryan Reynolds. I feel like Ryan Reynolds would say that he's so brilliant. I have to go with
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds
Yeah,
on
I was
that
gonna
one.
say this is more obvious because I
I
can't
just
imagine it being Dwayne Johnson.
it seems like his total that's his total like mentality. Like he's just always like just so witty. So I'm gonna go with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
right.
At least I got that one right.
Yeah, at least you got one right.
I give myself a half point for Steve Carell. I think if I had said I love lamp, I think I would have
I'll give you half for that. I'll
You
give
give me a
that.
half
So
point. Okay, so
I'll
one and
give
a
it so
half
far.
points so far.
Yeah,
Thank,
so far you're 1.5 out of 3. So you're
thank you,
if you
Victor.
if
You're too kind. You're too kind.
All right, so what about this one? I still remember the first time I got recognized in public. I thought they were trying to rob me.
Oh my god, man.
I feel like you would not get this one because this sounds like I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna give it out, but you would not get this one. I know for sure. Surprise me. Let's see.
Hmm. I feel like I'm not gonna get this. I don't know. Donald Glover?
It's John Boyega.
Really?
It is. He did tweet that. He did tweet that. I feel like this is something that like is more of a Chris Pratt thing to say or a Donald Glover thing to say. But when I found it was John Boyega, I
Yeah.
had to put it in because I kind of knew it would give you a tough time. So I wanted to test out if you really follow tweets and celebrities.
It's actually a very humble thing to say. Like I could see how he meant it. I think is that like like
Yeah, but he's
it's just
literally
like
famous.
he
Like it's like Star Wars is really
but but
it's
but
one of the
but but
biggest
but he I
franchises.
think a lot of actors I think a lot of actors too when it happens quickly in their rise to being recognized for their work. He's phenomenal. Is that he's kind of saying it. He's kind of poking fun at it. You know what I mean? Like because he wasn't used to it beforehand, and so I think he's kind of doing it from a very humble. There's a lot of humility in that quote. That's what I'll say. There's a lot of humility. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, so that's all.
It's cool.
1.5 out
That
of
was
4. Not
fun. I
bad.
liked it.
Not bad. It was really tough. Some of
Not
it was really
bad. I'll
tough.
take it.
I feel
I'll
like I
take
feel
it.
like I really
Those are
I feel
fun.
like I really give you a hard time. But before we close the show today, I wanted to ask you one last question for the audience. So, what's
Sure.
one piece of advice you'd give aspiring actors trying to break into the industry today? I know you've talked about this, but if there's something else you want to talk about that you think you didn't cover, you can just let the audience know right now. What's one big advice you'd give aspiring actors to break into the industry today?
Keep being creative. Really, keep being creative, and whatever that means to you, keep that mechanism always going. Never let it stop. And again, we've talked about picking up a play, reading a scene, being curious. Again, I booked this role. I had read the script 3 times before I even put myself on tape for it because I loved the story. I loved the character. I've talked about falling in love with the character and how much he's meant to me, in my own life. Keep being creative and surround yourself with people that lift you up and will never bring you down. Because again, you have to be around people that really are part of your journey and aren't resisting it in any way. So those would be my 2 bits of advice: is just be creative, and be surrounded by creatives and enjoy the journey. Really enjoy the journey. You only get so much time on this planet. So I really do. I think about my life all the time and I think, gosh, I'm so grateful for even some of the downs now because I'm riding a high right now and I understand that. I'm riding a high. I've got this really great film that I believe in, that I love. I have all these great relationships that have come out of it, but I'm enjoying it for all the right reasons. And I think that took a little bit of maturation on my part to really understand that this is a gift. Being in this position, being on your show right now, talking about it is a gift. All of this is part of the journey, and sometimes you need those downs to make the highs. To make the highs manifest themselves in your life. So, it's what one of my friends recently said. Carlo, who's in Dexter, and I follow him on Instagram, and he said this wonderful thing. It's like, it makes me sad when people give up on their dreams. I think that is an artist speaking. It is
Yeah.
the ultimate acknowledgement of understanding that he also wants people to be happy. And Garrett Dillahunt, my friend, actually the same thing. Posted a little video just the other day, and I watched it like 3 times, and I felt like I needed it that day because I was starting to get a little down again. And you'd have to watch the video, but he just rolled out of bed, and he essentially said, like, I want the best for you. I want the best for you. And I think he was speaking to everybody, but it really resonated with me because I know him as a person, and I know what a giver and lover he is, and what a power couple he's in with Michelle Hurd, and just how much they just really show up for actors, and how he showed up for me, and how Michelle showed up for me. And I just, again, I cannot thank them enough, and I cannot be more grateful that they're in my life because of how much they add to that. So, that was a really beautiful sentiment, and one that I feel like is important to share, because you have to be around people that really align with you. You have to be around people that give you those guardrails in the times where you need to hear something, and they'll tell it to you. And to have those people from this experience has just made it really, honestly, the role of a lifetime, and something that I will always look back on and be so fond of because of the relationships that came out of it.
Wow, it's really good. So do you hear? Just keep being creative, keep doing you. Don't give up your dreams. I feel like a lot of people give up just just too early, or they give up when they're about to get what they've been trying to get for so long. And when you're 60 years old, you look back in your life, you just hope that it's with like joy and not regret. Regardless of how it ends, like at least you tried. So I think that's a good message to end the show on.